Hello everyone, I'm Sarah from Crafty Creatures, and today we're going to be doing the black cat painting. Now this one looks a little bit complicated. It's none, we're just going to do it in a few steps, and it's kind of customizable so you can change up some different things. This is what it looks like in the end, so let's get started. So for today you're going to need a canvas panel, and we're going to lay it portrait so it looks taller than it is wide. You're going to need a pencil and eraser, keep it handy. We'll need our paints and our paintbrushes, something to wash our brushes in, and we're going to need something we can do some extra painting on. So we're going to go to the bottom, and we're going to draw a straightish line. We want a nice ground line. Now on this side, on the right hand side, we're going to draw a bottle. Now it can be any kind of shaped bottle. It can be really tall, it can be really short. It's just going to be some sort of cool bottle. Next, we're going to draw our cat. This is a very stylized cat. It's kind of a little bit cartoony. And on the top, we're going to draw a nice round shape. Let's give our cat a nice swirly tail. Now, one last little thing we're going to draw is we're going to draw our kind of spooky candle holder. And on top of that, we're going to add a candle. Now you're going to want to erase any lines that intersect. So we're going to take some of our yellow while it's still nice and clean, and we are going to paint in our flame here. And while it's still wet, we're going to take a little bit of orange. I'm going to dab some orange just kind of at the base here. Pick a nice big amount of yellow because we're going to want to mix a lot of color here. And take a lot of yellow and just the tiniest little bit of green. And we are going to mix that. And I would say, just the very tip of your bristles. Very carefully paint around my flame. I'm going to make almost like a circle around it. I'm going to take a bit of this color and we're just going to dab some on our eye here. So next we're going to add a little bit more green to make a slightly darker color. Again, next ring, I'm going to add some more green. So now we're going to take a nice, good sized glob of our straight green. And we are going to start now adding little bits of blue. The first, I'm just going to check. Yes, I should see maybe just a little bit of my green here. And I'm just going to check by pretending you're doing your ring to see if you should be seeing the ring and how much on different parts of the cat here. I'm going to start by taking just a little bit of blue and adding that to my green. Now we're going to switch to using our big brush, because now we're going to be doing bigger rings and painting in more space. Again though, we're going to use our medium or small brush to do our mixing. With your eyes, you might want to do some blending, make it nice and smooth. You can make it really blocky and chunky. You can make your eyes a lot darker than mine or lighter than mine as well. This next ring should be a lot more blue. We should be getting really kind of bluish by now. There's still a bit of green to it. I'm gonna test it by going down here. Yeah, there we go. So now we're gonna work on our candle and our candle holder for a little bit. Now the colors I'm using aren't the ones you necessarily have to use, but I'm gonna be explaining how to do it in those colors, so it might be a little bit easier just to use the same ones as me. And we're gonna do a bit of shading on our candle and our candle holder, as well as our potion bottle a little bit. Now I'm gonna take a little bit of orange and I'm gonna mix in a good chunk of yellow and just a little touch of white. We don't want to add too much white, we just want to add a little bit just so it goes on a little bit more opaque. Then we're going to use some of this lighter orange yellow along the top near the flame. We can add a little bit to the tops of our wax strips. And we'll add a bit more white to some of that color to get an even lighter version. This is going to be almost a peach. Again, we'll just add a little bit, kind of where we think our light would be hitting the top of that wax. And now we're going to do some shadow. So we're going to mix some orange and some red together to make a darker orangier red. And this will kind of put underneath of our drips. If our drips kind of go over top of a part of the candle, I'm going to put it underneath the top here. Just makes it look a little bit more 3D. I'm going to put it definitely along the bottom here, where our candle wax is kind of dripped in this neat blobby skull shape on our candle holder. And this, the bottom of these eye shapes. Makes them look like they've sunken in a little bit. Just brush it a little bit here and there. Okay, so then for this under part, our little crystal ball, I'm just going to use purple. For a bit of shadow, we're just going to take a bit of purple, a little bit of blue, this is going to make a nice darker color, and we're just going to dab that just underneath of our wax, but a little bit along this one side and the bottom, and a little bit along the tops of our eyes here. Okay, now this part of our painting's done. Kind of similar to my first one where I'm going to do purple, but I'm going to do purple that goes into a lighter color. So when we paint our bottle, we're not going to paint right to the edges. We're going to actually go inside of a little bit. We want to show that we have glass and that our glass is fairly thick to be able to contain whatever content is in these bottles. The more of a gap you leave, the thicker that glass is going to be. Just to make mine look a little bit more fun, I'm going to kind of transition it from purple to light purple to kind of pinkish color. And for the glass itself, you can do it a couple of ways. You can do it a lighter color than what's in your bottle, a darker color of what's in your bottle, or you can do another color entirely. I'm just going to do kind of a darker purple for mine, but I'm going to add a little bit of blue just so that it's a little bit more of a purpley blue. Just to kind of show there's a difference between my glass and my potion itself. I'm not going to paint in my string or my topper just yet, but I'm going to paint that little top part of my bottle. Now to add some dimension to our glass, we're going to add in a couple of little white highlights here. Do it along the side that's kind of facing your flame. This will kind of show that our light is hitting our bottle here. Even do a little bit along the sides here. I'm just going to feather my edges here. This is kind of a little bonus stuff you can do if you choose to, or you can just have that really sharp divide between your glass and your potion. And then for the topper and the string, we're just going to paint it in with brown. Or if you want to do a really fancy topper, like a really fancy glass little cap, you can. Just like the look of the cork myself. And then for the tag, you can just make a lighter brown. And then we're going to fill in the bottom of our ground. We're going to make a little bit of a bluey color. We're going to mix in a bit of blue with a little bit of purple and a tiny, tiny bit of black. I would recommend flipping your canvas around just so you're not laying your hand on too much wet paint. Kind of gives these areas a bit of time to dry. Again, depending on what part of the cat you're painting, choose the right paintbrush for the job. And we want to be very, very careful as we're painting around things like our candle and our potion. We don't really want to go over our lines of those. And there we go, our lovely cat painting. Now you're going to want to let it dry for a really good long time. And once it's dried, you can kind of check it to see if your black isn't really patchy. If it looks a little bit thinner in parts, you can definitely do a second coat of black paint just to make it look nice and sharp.